Good morning. This is Julia Tabbitt
and Jesse Morton
coming to you from the makeshift Northstar offices in sunny St. Paul, Minnesota. Just kidding, it's snowing. So we're here to tell you about the very exciting new Northstar Online Learning tool that we're putting together right now. So currently, all of you in on this webinar have your microphones muted. That's to sort of control the sound quality. If you have a question at any point during the presentation, we are monitoring the chat window. So please feel free to enter your questions there. You can find the chat window in the upper right corner of your GoToMeeting interface.
Everybody will be able to see your chat message, just so you know.
Yeah. So if anybody has any audio troubleshooting problems, let us know that too. I hope that you can all hear me. So, Northstar Online Learning, we're very excited to introduce this to you. We've been working on this for quite a while now. You all probably know that for most of the existence of Northstar, we've really focused on digital literacy skills, and now we're sort of shifting our attention into supporting learning those skills more directly. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing with this tool, the purpose, audience, features, and process, and then get a little bit of your feedback about it. So the overall purpose of Northstar Online Learning is to provide instruction and practice to the users who don't immediately master the Northstar standards. So I'm sure you've all worked with learners who take these assessments and don't do so well in the first place, or have some work to do to get their skills up to the point of passing. So we really want to be supporting those folks. And in addition to providing instruction, we want to be able to link that instruction to the assessments themselves. So we want to make it really clear in our interface how the standards in the assessments are connected to the learning and vice versa. So it's not only a way to learn the material, it's also a way to kind of track progress. We really want to see this tool as a benefit for our testing location specifically. So while we hope that it can get really broad use, we don't intend it for use by the general public. So we want it to be very usable as a standalone tool so that people can practice on their own. But we also want it to support the classroom curricula that we're currently developing. So hopefully you've all kind of gotten a chance to check out the curriculums that we've been putting out. And we are lucky to have here on the line also one of the people who's been really key to writing that curriculum. So I am going to give her a chance to explain more about how this tool links into that.
Good morning, everyone. Can you, someone chat in the chat box if you're able to hear me? My name is Leah Hauge, and I'm the Northstar Curriculum Coordinator, and I am joining you from northern Minnesota in Duluth. Oh, great. I hear some people saying that they can hear me. That's wonderful. As Julia mentioned, Northstar Online Learning supports students to learn the standards and gives them that additional focus support, as does the curriculum. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how Northstar Online Learning and the curriculum work together. So right now we're working to link some interactive practice tasks from Northstar Learning into the curriculum lessons, and we're going to start with that first unit, the basic computer skills unit. And some, but not all, of the lesson plans will have callouts or links to interactive practice tasks, and Julia and Jesse will talk more about what those are in a little bit. And the curriculum team and Northstar Online Learning team have worked really intentionally together to identify what those interactive practice tasks will be that will supplement and support classroom instruction. And so linking to Northstar Online Learning will allow students the opportunity to further practice those skills in order to meet the standards. And for example, In the basic computer skills unit, there's a lesson called mouse skills, and one of the standards is that students will be able to demonstrate knowledge and appropriate uses of mouse clicks, like right click, left click, and double click. And with the Northstar Online Learning practice task, it will allow learners additional guided practice and support, leading them through learning games that ask them to practice and master mouse clicks. For example, it will show them how to use right click, and then learners will right click boxes with drop-down menus to change the colors of the boxes. Links to the interactive practice tasks that expand on the learning will not require learners to log in, which is kind of awesome. And we're still working on integrating them into the curriculum, as I mentioned. So excitingly, we'll re-release the basic computer skills unit with those links in the new year. Okay.
Thank you, Leah. Whoa, sorry. Okay, fixed. Thanks, Leah. So that was a good introduction to how the tools go together. We do intend for the Northstar Online Learning experience to be really well supported by the testing locations. So staff at those locations, we hope, will be directing account setup and orientation to the interface for learners. So again, some of the features for learners, we definitely want this to be a learning tool. So we have instruction and practice that are aligned to the Northstar standards. We have it organized into digestible lessons and sections so that people obviously don't have to learn all of the skills at once. We have in process some section review questions so that they can check for themselves how well they're learning these things before they go and attempt the assessment again. And we have it all, I hope, in a pretty user-friendly interface so that it's all really well streamlined for the user. So as part of that interface also, we have status measures so that users can easily see like which assessments they've taken, how they did on them, which things they've completed and earned badges in, and then a list of standards and an indication of which ones they've mastered and which ones they still might need to work on. So next we're going to take a look at the interface for both things. There we go. We're using each other's computers, so there's a bit of a learning curve involved here as we present. So this is an example of the interface for what we have put together for the basic computer skills learning. So every one of these topics is going to have a navigation menu so that users can check out what the different sections are, what the different lessons are. And each one will have an indicator to tell them which things they've completed, which review questions are available to them, and which things they haven't attempted yet. So in these lessons, there's going to be a mix of introductory material, some of it with text. There are going to be videos in some of these that show different information about computers and how we use them. To be in the mix some more interactive tasks. So some of the introductory videos will give way to like instructions. So introducing terminology like checkbox, for example, and then giving users a chance to practice with that. So in every case, there will be feedback throughout. So if they do the right thing, then it tells them that they were successful before they move on. And if something goes wrong, it tells them that there's something more on the screen they need to do. So there's never a case where they are passing through the content without mastering it. Like we're trying to give support and hints throughout so that they know how they're being successful. So that's just a real quick example of what this might look like. We are still perfecting it and refining some of the details, but I think we feel pretty happy about where it's at the moment. And Jesse, who is our expert genius developer, is now going to show us a little bit about the status interface for learners.
Hello. So I'm going to pull it back out here to the more dashboard status aspect of things. Let me start from the beginning here. So this is sort of the landing page that users would see when they first log into Northstar. I'll talk in a little bit about sort of the different ways of getting to this place, just so that it kind of gels how it all fits together. But for now, I'll show you the interface itself of showing users their status in Northstar in general. So when they get to this page, it'll be a little bit more built out than this as we start to flesh out all the practice for all of the different topics. But right now, it's showing me Windows 10 and basic computer skills because in this account that I'm logged into, those are the only assessments that I've taken so far. So it would show me the most recent assessments so that when you're logging into this page, you're seeing what you were most recently interested in working on. The assessments tab up here is not a whole lot more exciting at the moment because we don't have more topics fleshed out yet. But I'm going to click into the basic computer skills since that's what we're getting into and sort of explain more about this little donut interface up here. So this just gives you a quick snapshot that there is that the user at their best got an 87% on this assessment. In the middle here, the fact that it shows a badge for that assessment means that they have passed it. If they had not passed it yet, there would not be a badge in there. If they had passed it and they had passed it in a proctored environment, then that badge would be the more colorful badge that we offer to users. Then the practice mastery is just a percentage of how far they've gone through the instruction and practice lessons. And then these little unlock and lock icons represent the different section reviews. So I think Julie might have touched on it, but as you finish like all the lessons in a section, the review is unlocked for that section. In this second case, I haven't finished all the lessons there, so it's still locked. We tried to sort of create a text-based version of this information in case for at least like your initial time coming into the application, being able to understand it easily. Then further down on the page is the actual sort of avenues to get into the instruction and practice. So this first practice tab shows the titles of the different sections and the lessons. Along with each lesson, it identifies the standards that are associated with that lesson. As well as you can see the check marks by them and sort of grade out if they've completed it. For ones that are not completed yet, they're more presented in a brighter font or stronger font. Then back up here to the standards tab. This is just sort of a different way of getting at the information. So what this is showing is that on the last assessment that they took in basic computer skills, or that I took in this case, that I need improvement on 4 of these standards. And so those are going to be shown towards the top. And on the right-hand side, we'll have links to the practice for each of those. So even though, you know, a practice lesson can cover multiple standards, here we're just breaking down the standards one by one. So realistically, some of these practice links on the right-hand side would link to the same lesson, but we're just making it easy to get to that lesson. And then the assessment history tab is just an easy way to see my whole history in the basic computer skills topic. So shows the different scores when I took them, whether they were eligible for a certificate, and it shows me an icon of the badge if I earned it. And we're trying to make it with this migration, for those of you who have followed badging in Northstar, we had a lot of bumps in the road when our previous backpack solution, the Mozilla Backpack, started to have a lot of inconsistency in their infrastructure, and as a result, a lot of inconsistency in end user experience of it. But in the last couple of months, we've transitioned along with other Mozilla Backpack users to the company Badger, who is kind of carrying Mozilla's mantle now that Mozilla is getting out of having a backpack solution. So I say all that to say we're trying to make it really easy for people that do want to use badges. By the time that they have an account on Northstar, because we have their email address, it's super easy for us to send badges to Badger directly without them needing to like log in every time, and it was just sort of a clunky experience before, but like in this case I could just click the button and they would export it to Badger. And then the final thing, not too exciting, is profile management, and I don't know if we'll have more there or not. So let me pull back up the presentation here. Okay, so Julia walked us through the features for learners, and so for admins and proctors, I just wanted to discuss some of the things that you can expect from Northstar Online Learning. So first off, we know that a lot of people would like to track time on task for proxy hours at their organization. So we do have that built in to track when people log in, and we intend to ask whether they're in a classroom environment or outside of a classroom environment, like if they're at home, so that we could also distinguish that. And then that's going to be one of the aspects in the administrator portal that you could export a report on that. Other changes that'll come to the admin portal regarding this are, as Julia touched on, creating users, and I say management here. By that, mainly I mean probably having a mechanism to be able to reset their password for them for users who are struggling, rather than it necessarily being all done on the end user end. So just want to be able to create support for the end users. And then this broad idea of tracking user statuses. So there's still some remaining definition that needs to happen around exactly how this is going to appear in the admin portal. So I don't have any screenshots or anything of the user experience right now. But we want to make it easy for admins and proctors to be able to zoom in on a particular user, see how they're doing on assessments, where they're at in practice, and all that sort of stuff. So that is our intention. I just thought I'd talk through briefly the process, just in case any of it was unclear, how this fits together within the normal Northstar experience. So, you know, a lot of this, I guess, I'll assume is going on in a classroom environment. So it could be incorporating all of the classroom curricula that Leah and her team are working on, and it's, let me see here. Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it on the slide, but we do envision, I think Julie also touched on this, that we do envision that it's possible for users to do this outside the classroom, but that's going to be more for, you know, budding power users that feel really comfortable in it. So from the beginning, like once we release the Northstar Online Learning infrastructure, what is going to be involved is for admins or proctors to go to their admin portal and create a learner account. And learner accounts will be comprised of the user's email address and a password. So it is email based. And then the user will get an email with information on how to log in. And from that time on, in order to save the data to their particular account, they're going to need to use that login whenever they come to Northstar. So we'll still have the option of just signing into an assessment via first name, last name, but that's not the way that you would want to do it once we have these user accounts, if you want it saved to that user account. That's sort of the more generic way of doing it. But users are going to want to see their statuses, of course. So they'll log in, and the way that they'll experience Northstar Online Learning is that first off, at the end of an assessment where it shows the standards that they mastered or that they need improvement on, we're going to be linking to the particular, well, I was going to say we're going to link to the particular lessons, and that's quite possibly what we're going to do, although that's not entirely pinpointed. It's possible we would link instead to the sort of dashboard experience of that topic. But either way, we're going to make it easy for them to see how can they get more practice in that standard. Otherwise, they can just log in directly to Northstar Online Learning to see their, you know, their status in assessments and practice and all of that. Like if they weren't coming to the website to take another assessment, but just wanted to get back into the practice. So then, of course, they go through the instruction, practice, and review questions. And once they have gained skills and are confident in being able to redo the assessment, then they can retake the assessment at their location. We don't really envision the assessment experience changing a whole lot. For example, we're not going to make it so that the user can just automatically launch an assessment out of Northstar Online Learning on their own without going to the testing location page that people are used to at the moment. We still intend for people to go to that testing location page.
So we have a couple of good questions here in the chat window. One, somebody is asking if we're thinking about a mechanism to link assessment scores obtained under the prior process to their new accounts. Jesse, do we have that set up?
So that's something that we could certainly look at. It's not something that I guess we are already building, but at the same time, the admin portal stuff is not currently built anyway, so it's something we could certainly consider, and in the long term that really makes sense.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea if we can figure it out. And then just a reminder that NSOL, which I actually always forget myself, stands for Northstar Online Learning. So if you're wondering when you're seeing that abbreviation what it means, just the online learning portion of our project.
And that's just sort of a rebranded name. I mean, Northstar Online Learning is sort of the rebrand of what we had told people is our learning management system. So just having learning available to users and tracking that data in our database. Okay. So that's what we got for today. We are interested if you have any impressions or thoughts or questions beyond what has already been shared. Feel free to chat with us in there and we can try to answer some questions. We appreciate your time visiting us.
It's too bad that this interface doesn't show us when people are typing. I'm going to give it a few more minutes to see if any, yes. So, will there be process documentation explaining how students can access their accounts from outside of testing locations?
We'll definitely have documentation on how this overall thing works. Realistically, the way that they would get into Northstar Online Learning is just by coming to our website and clicking the login button that admins and proctors currently do. And it's just going to detect that they're not a proctor and they're not an admin. So it'll send them to their Northstar Online Learning dashboard. So they could easily do that whether they're in a classroom experience or at home.
And for those of you asking how to access this presentation later, we're going to put the recording on YouTube. So we'll definitely make the link to that video available if you want to watch again, see what you missed at the beginning, share with other people, etc. We'll have that available soon. The other question I saw is when this will be complete and available for people to use.
So that is a great question. We naturally want to get it to users as soon as we can, and at the same time, we want to make sure that it's really solid and not something that people are, struggling at all with because there wasn't something that was quite done right and was an oversight on ease of use or something. So early 2020 is sort of what our vague timeline is at the moment. As that becomes more clear, we will gladly communicate about that. But I don't have an exact delivery date yet.
Yeah, we're definitely in the review phase. So it's largely done. We just want to make sure that we get solid feedback before we release it broadly. So a beta test process with testing sites, will we have that going? I wrote that down too. So I think we signed up to be able to give these a test run. Yes. Jesse, do we have that in process? Actually, I know that we've talked about it.
There was someone else that was going to be looking into that, so I don't know the status of that, honestly.
Okay. And then somebody asked about being able to identify when users are using it in the classroom versus at home. What is our plan for tracking that?
So I'll try to answer that, but if I'm not getting at your point, let me know. In the whole time on task thing, in the reporting functionality, it would be easy for us to break it down, the time that the user spent in class versus out of class.
And we would ask learners to self-report as they log in. Is that the idea?
Correct. Yeah. When they log in, it'll ask them a question of what location they're at.
And then we got another question saying that they would love to see something that can be used in a closed system with no internet access. Is there any possibility that this could be made available without internet?
In an ideal world, that would be awesome, but just given limited resources and everything, it's realistically not a top priority for Northstar. Because all of this information does feed into a internet-based database. It's not like something local to the browser or something. So unfortunately, I can't promise that.
Great, I'll give it, yep, so it would be great if a learner who has demonstrated mastery on a section of the lesson, if the section was marked complete and unlocked the next section. And we are definitely doing that. Like, we aren't unlocking the other sections based on completion because we want to set it up so that people can use it in any order depending on which standards you're missing out on. So like, not every learner is going to get the same standards wrong. So we want to be sure that they can go directly to the pieces that they're missing. So, but we are planning to unlock the review questions at the end of each section based on their completion of that section, so that there is there's definitely clear status on the pieces of whether they've completed them or not. So we definitely want people to be able to use this tool in class and at home both. So if you're concerned about how to track that, I think Jesse talked about it a little, but we also don't have it like anything to show you about how we're going to do that because we haven't made the interface yet, but people can definitely use it wherever they want to. In terms of teaching without the internet, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the curricular resources that we've put out, but we have a team that's been working on writing up a plan for a series of lessons for the classroom. So that is available for people with an account on our website.
So for a subscribing testing location, I believe if you just go to our website, digitalliteracy.assessment.org/curriculum, that's where we have our different topics curricula listed, and there's a whole lot there for teaching without the internet, if that's applicable to you.
Great, so we just have a few things to look forward to listed here. So we are working, like we said, on the final revisions of this, and we hope to make it available in the early part of 2020. We are finalizing the management tools and the admin portal for this, and we hope to have it ready for unveiling, pretty soon early in the next year. So also, again, we'll have this webinar recorded. We're going to put it up on YouTube and make sure that the link is available. And we will stay on for a few more minutes here to see if any other chat questions come through. But otherwise, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just saw one more question come through asking if this will replace the curriculum we just added, and no, we are hoping that people will be using both tools in different circumstances, or maybe in the same circumstances together. So we definitely want the curriculum to be used. We definitely want this online learning tool to be used. Just different learners and different instructors might make use of one or the other more. So we definitely want them both to be out there.